Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Aura. Think about the number of spam calls or texts you receive each day. Have you ever found yourself second-guessing whether a message was real or a scam? What about a time when you were waiting for an important call? Did you end up answering every unknown number just in case? How did that experience make you feel? With the Data Broker opt-out feature, Aura will help remove your personal information from data brokers and people search sites that can sell your info to identity thieves, scammers, and more. Aura has tons of identity protection features such as Data Broker opt-out, financial fraud protection, Aura VPN, antivirus, certified data security and privacy, identity theft protection, and password manager. Plus, Aura will never sell your data to third parties. 24/7 US-based support around-the-clock US fraud specialists are available to help. I personally love the antivirus and password manager. As someone who forgets their passwords often, Aura makes it easy to store and access your online passwords securely and conveniently across apps. I get this all in one app at one affordable price. I'm not leaving myself and my family vulnerable to data breaches and brokers, and if you don't want to either, you can go to aura.com/KrystlynCrime to try a 2 weeks free trial. That will be enough time for Aura to find out if any of your personal data is exposed. Thanks again to Aura for sponsoring this video. Charles Becker was born in 1870 in the village of Callicoon Center, located in Sullivan County, New York. His parents were German-American immigrants from Bavaria. In 1890, as a young man, Becker moved to New York City and began working as a bouncer at a German beer hall near the Bowery. In November of 1893, Becker joined the New York City Police Department. He gained widespread attention in the fall of 1896 when he arrested Ruby Young, also known as Dora Clark, a known prostitute. Young had been seen on Broadway in the company of Stephen Crane, the celebrated author of The Red Badge of Courage. At Young's hearing the next day, Crane publicly defended her, asserting her innocence. His popularity influenced the case, and Magistrate Robert C. Cornell dismissed the charges against Young. Afterward, Crane told reporters, "If the girl will have the officers prosecuted for perjury, I will gladly support her." 3 weeks later, Ruby Young formally accused Becker of perjury. Faced with serious allegations, Becker gathered evidence, enlisting experienced defense attorney Lewis Grant, and rallied support from his fellow officers. On October 15, 1896, Becker made a commanding appearance at his trial, flanked by a group of policemen. Police Commissioner Frederick Dent Grant, the son of Ulysses S. Grant, presided over the proceedings. After nearly 5 hours of testimony, Becker was acquitted. The case taught him the influence of the police badge and the importance of solidarity among his colleagues. Charles Becker married Letitia Stenson, originally from Ontario, Canada. The couple had a son, Howard P. Becker, in 1899. 6 years later, Charles and Letitia divorced. Howard was raised in the West by his mother and stepfather, Paul Becker, Charles's brother. Howard went on to earn a doctorate in sociology from the University of Chicago and later became a full professor at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Charles remarried twice more. In 1905, he married Helen, a school teacher, who later became an assistant principal. In 1913, the couple experienced a tragic loss when their daughter, Charlotte Becker, died less than a day after she was born. Throughout her life, Helen firmly believed that her husband had been wrongfully convicted of murder. In 1902 or 1903, Becker emerged as one of the leaders of a reform movement among patrolmen advocating for the introduction of the 3-platoon system. This system would have significantly reduced the long hours that beat officers were expected to work. In 1906, Becker was assigned to a special unit based at police headquarters to investigate alleged corruption involving Police Inspector Max F. Schmittenberger. Schmittenberger had become unpopular with patrolmen after providing detailed testimony to the 1894 Lex Lau Committee, which had been investigating police corruption in New York. Due in part to Becker's efforts, Schmittenberger was later prosecuted. Deputy Police Commissioner Rylander Waldo, impressed by Becker's work, appointed him as head of one of the New York City's 3 anti-vice squads when he became New York City's police commissioner in 1911. At the time, Becker held the rank of lieutenant. Becker allegedly exploited his position to extort large sums of money. later revealed to exceed $100,000 from Manhattan brothels and illegal gambling operations in exchange for protection from police interference. A portion of the proceeds was regularly funneled to politicians and fellow officers. This area was under the control of Timothy Sullivan, the leader of Tammany Hall. Herman Rosenthal, a flamboyant Estonian immigrant who operated several illegal casinos in New York's Tenderloin district, became upset after a police raid led by Becker damaged one of his casinos. He publicly accused Becker of collecting 20% of the take from his operations. In July of 1912, the New York World reported that Becker was one of 3 senior police officials involved in extorting money from Rosenthal's casinos. On the day Rosenthal was scheduled to testify before a grand jury, he was murdered at 2 a.m. as he left the Hotel Metropole at 147 West 43rd Street near Times Square. The 4 gunmen, Louis Rosenberg, Jacob Schneidenschner, Frank Serafisi, and Harry Horowitz, shot him without attempting to disguise their identities and were later seen fleeing in their car. They were tried, convicted, and sentenced to death, eventually being executed. Manhattan District Attorney Charles S. Whitman, who had planned to interview Rosenthal before his death, alleged that the 4 gangsters had carried out the murder on Becker's orders. In the aftermath of the murder and intense media scrutiny, Becker was resigned to desk duty in the Bronx. Whitman's office continued its investigation into Becker, and on July 29, 1912, Becker was arrested at the precinct's closing hour by special detectives from the district attorney's office. He was tried and convicted of first-degree murder later that fall in a trial overseen by Judge John Goff, who was perceived as highly biased against Becker. Goff's instructions to the jury were viewed as slanted towards securing a conviction. The verdict was overturned on appeal due to the judge's bias and the absence of independent corroborating witnesses, as all the witnesses involved in the case were also implicated in the crimes. The case was retried in 1914, and once again, Becker was convicted and sentenced to death, making him the first police officer in New York to receive such a sentence. Becker continued to claim his innocence throughout the process. The day before his execution, he told the warden, "Sure, I told them to put Rosenthal out of the way, but I didn't mean they should kill him. I wanted them to get him out of town so he wouldn't blab. Killing him was Rose's idea, and the others. They wanted to save their own skins." Jack Rose, Harry Vallon, Sam Sheps, and Bridgie Weber, all underworld figures involved in the crime, testified against Becker in exchange for immunity from prosecution. At the time, Charles S. Whitman, who was then governor of New York, signed Becker's death warrant. On July 30th, 1915, Becker was executed in the electric chair at Sing Sing Prison by New York's state electrician John Hulbert. The execution took 9 minutes and appeared to cause Becker intense pain. For years, it was referred to as the clumsiest execution in the history of Sing Sing. Though Becker was widely thought to be the only policeman executed for murder in the United States, 2 other members of the New York City Police Department, William Ennis, executed on December 14, 1903, and John Brennan, executed on December 2, 1926, were also put to death for murder. Becker was buried at Woodlawn Cemetery in the Bronx on August 2, 1915, next to his daughter.